What I want to do, guys, is I really want to talk about today about ripping off the muzzle. Okay. And what do I mean by that? So many Christians that come to us, they feel really wrong or really dirty asking for more money. Okay. They feel greedy, they feel selfish for wanting to be paid more. And it's because of a lot of bad teaching, a lot of bad theology. And what I want to talk about today is this whole idea that the Bible not only gives you permission to do those things, to ask for more, it says go for it. Right? Actually encourages you, kind of eggs you on a little bit. And so what I want to share here, we'll start with 1 Timothy 5:18. The scripture says, you shall not muzzle the ox or an ox while it treads out the grain. And again, the laborer is worthy or deserving of his wages, right? Where is he getting that from? He's quoting Deuteronomy 25:4. Those of you who want to take this further, you can go examine that. But then what's really interesting is the second half of that is he's likely referencing something that Jesus said. If you look in Matthew 10:10, it says the laborer deserves his food. If you look at Luke 10:5-7, it says the laborer deserves his wages. Because in that context, right, the disciples are going out and he says, hey, if a son of peace is there when you enter their house or you go in there, say your peace rest upon him. If not, it will return to you and remain the same place, eating and drinking what they provide. So Jesus is all about this idea of like, hey, if you're giving value, right, if you're helping people, solving it, you shouldn't feel bad. You deserve to be paid. You deserve your wages. You deserve to eat. Are you guys tracking with me? Awesome. So the next verse we're going to go into here, just to kind of take this a little bit further, is 1 Corinthians 9:7-12. And I'm going to read this. It says, who serves as a, this is Paul, obviously, who serves as a soldier at his own expense? Who plants a vineyard without eating any of its fruit? Or who tends to a flock without getting some of the milk? Do I say these things on human authority? Does not the law say the same? Right, guys, we just were talking about what does it say in Deuteronomy, right? Here he goes again, quoting it again. For it is written in the law of Moses, you shall not muzzle an ox while it treads out the grain. There's the passage again. Is it for oxen that God is concerned? Does he not certainly speak for our sake? It is not written for our sake because the plowman should plow in hope and the thresher thresh in hope of sharing in the crop, right? So he says, if we have sown spiritual things among you, is it too much if we reap material things from you? If others share this rightful claim on you, do we not even more, right? Guys, notice those words, rightful claim. We deserve it. Here he's saying it's okay to want a worthy return for your effort. You guys with me? Share in the crop. You deserve it. That's what he's saying. Okay. And I want to, hopefully, you guys are seeing the pattern here. I want to give you one more verse just to kind of thicken this up a little bit. How many of you got love Proverbs 31? I thank God my wife is one of those kind of women, but here's what's really cool about that. It says, give her of the fruit of her hands and let her works praise her in the gates. So what does this mean? Here's what it's essentially saying. Give her what she's due. Give her everything she deserves. Reward her for all she's done. Give her credit for all that she does. If you are adding major value, okay, major value to your employer, major value to your clients, don't be shy about claiming what you feel it's
Mhm.
worth. Does that make sense, guys? Don't be shy about claiming what it's worth. Okay. God approves. Okay. He's giving you the thumbs up. Jesus approves. Okay. So, and guys, here's the thing. Like, I want to also mention, of course, there are times where God wants us to be generous and serve sacrificially and even give until it hurts sometimes, right? That's part of the core of being a Christian. We're called to give sacrificially. You see that in Acts, right? They're selling everything, they're giving it to contribute to the needs of the poor. Not that they had to, but because they wanted to, right? Sure, they were worthy of holding on to that, but they decided to give that up of their own free will. That's amazing. I'm not trying to squash that. But also remember this. This is the point, again, I'm trying to hit on because most of y'all already know that you need to be doing that. But a lot of you don't know that this is also true. If you're going to undercharge or you're going to give up your best work away for free, do it because you want to, not because it's what God expects of you to do 24/7. It's very, 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 very powerful to remember this because Christians struggle with so much guilt around this topic. And I really want to give you guys some amazing aha from God Himself. So that was Jesus. We love you. We just want you to be glorified today. We want you to be magnified, and we want your people to be set free to do greater works than even what you were able to do, which is what you said we would do. So I just pray that so much of that would come through the financial freedom of everyone here, that you would bless everything that we're doing, and again, that your name would be hallowed in all of the works that we're going to talk about today. So we just love you. Thank you for Stacy. Thank you for how you're going to use her wisdom and impart that to us and help us to change more lives and help more people. So we love you. Amen. All right, Stacy, take it away.
Hello, everyone. We talked about the three components of value: passion, skill, and impact. It was about how would you define your passion, skill, and impact? And a simple question for you here. I'm curious, which one of those, passion, your skill, your impact, meaning the results that you have for people, which one felt like it was the most challenging for you to define for yourself? Passion, skill, or impact? Which one of those do you feel like is the hardest for you to define, especially in a unique way? I think skill is the one that's most in front of our face because we're doing things, we're performing tasks each day, but then we lose touch with passion. Years can go by and we're like, what's my hobby? I know what I did. I like to do 15 years ago. We can get detached from that. We're not thinking about it. And same thing with impact. We're so running on the task treadmill. Who is running hard on that task treadmill? Gotta get it done, right? Nobody here is probably like, you know what? I got so much time on my hands. No, you're busy doing things. And so it's difficult to actually measure what you're producing and observe that. So thanks for taking a look at that. All right, guys, let's get into some new stuff for today. We're going to talk about confidence and not the fake it till you make it stuff, because that's not going to help you. I want you to be able to boost your confidence authentically from the inside out. But first, we have to know what your current level of confidence is. So what I mean by confidence is belief in your abilities and your value. Belief that what you put out there, it's going to go well. So let's use a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being the absolute lowest, 10 being the highest. Where would you say your confidence, your self-confidence is right now? And please know there's no judgment. We love your honesty here, and we're just here to support you and help you dial it up. So pop those numbers. What's your scale, your level of confidence? Scale of 1 to 10. Thank you for popping these in. Cool. Good to see the variety. Good. All right. We got quite the range here. Okay. And I did see a couple 9s, which is good. This is our target range. But don't worry if you're not hanging out at a 9. We've got some things for you to do there. But first, we want to know why, right? Because it's our thought that drives everything. And if we just try and slap some sort of activity, some sort of action on top of it, then what happens is it starts to sound like this. Well, I just need to make myself do it. I have heard that over and over again from people. I just need to make myself do it. And I always ask, well, how's that working out for you? It's not going well because you can't just force yourself to do it. So we need to understand why. And I'd like you to pause and dig inside for a minute here. If your confidence is less than a 9 right now, why do you think that is? And if you'd like to share in the chat, that would be awesome. It could be, I'll give you some ideas here too, right? Sometimes it's feeling like you've had a lot of failure or mistakes. Sometimes you're dwelling on the past and the track record. Sometimes it's a belief that you're not worthy, or this story in your head that you can't do something, or the I don't have story. I hear that one a lot, right? Focusing on what you're missing. You don't have the intelligence. You don't have whatever it is, right? I don't have the right glasses. I don't have the right height. I don't have the right, it could be anything. We have so many excuses what we don't have, right? Yeah, I don't have time. That's, ooh, I could go into that one on a whole separate training, the time issue. But I want you to put in there, why would it be less than a 9? Not worthy, maybe it's self-doubt, holding on to mistakes, and I can't do or don't have story. Maybe it's fear, fear of failure, fear of rejection. Anybody know that one? Maybe it's not knowing what you want. Yeah, yeah, not sure what your skills are, if they're relevant. Belief, time management, lack of results. Yes. Yeah, that's huge. Thank you for sharing that with me. So here's the thing, we don't want to just keep pushing forward without this confidence. What does confidence allow you to do? So let's imagine this, right? Everybody do a little visual. Dials are fun because you can turn them up in your mind anytime you want. Everybody visualize what their confidence dial looks like. Could be silver, maybe it's blue, could be a lever, whatever you want to visualize here. I want everybody to turn it up to at least a 9. Now, if you're getting out of bed in the morning with that dial turned up to a 9, what happens? What do you start doing? What results do you start seeing because your confidence is at a 9? Pop those in the chat. I'd like to know. What are your ideas? What happens? Get out of bed, it's a 9. What kinds of things start happening for you? Yeah, feel more positive, more productive. Yes, you are bold. Yes, intentional moves. Oh, yes. Everything's possible. You've got the energy. Yes, you guys are so on this. Exactly. So that looks like bold moves. You might invest in something. You might take risks. You are going to be willing to get uncomfortable and you're going to try new things. You're going to go out. You're going to sell yourself. Might involve making calls. Yep, no problem. I'm going to call them up. Here's another good one too, guys, is if you're confident and you're up at level 9, are you going to play the negative what if game? Or are you going to play the positive what if game? The positive what if game focuses on growth, focuses on what's possible. It focuses on solutions and going outside the box, versus the negative what if game is basically complaining, doubt, and excuses. Well, what if this doesn't work? What if they don't like me? What if I try and I lose this money? What if? It's the negative what if. Okay, but when you have that confidence boosted, you're feeling good. You're going to play that positive what if game. It's going to be so much easier for your brain to lean into and believe in those positive possibilities. And really, you're going to be operating from a place of peace and strength versus fear. Because let's be honest, how well do things go when we're operating from a place of fear? I don't want to be making decisions there. It's not a good place. We want to be in a place of peace and strength, and confidence is one of the components to being there. Okay, now let's back this up, guys. We've got the visual. We know where we're going, level 9. Let's back it up. Get you some beliefs, some truth to actually feel that way. All right, and now there are a lot of things that we can do, and we have a ton of tools. But for today, I want to tell you about the 50 stack of awesome. 50 stack of awesome. What is this? So in your 50 stack, what you're doing is writing 50 reasons why you're awesome. And who gets to determine these reasons? Is it your boss? Is it your mama? Is it your husband, your wife? No, it is you. You get to decide what goes on this list. Nobody needs to validate it. Doesn't need to be approved in the world. Doesn't mean everybody else agrees with it. You determine these reasons. They can, of course, be achievements professionally. They can be personal as well. They can be characteristics. You can put in there that you like your hair. This is so incredibly powerful when you can have 50 reasons. And I don't mean general reasons, right? Yes, 50. Diana saying 50. Yes. And then from there, you keep pushing up. Let's see if we can go to 100. Yes, 50 reasons. We're not trying to be boastful. We're not trying to throw humility out the window here. But we need to believe in ourselves, or we're not going to do anything. We're not going to step up and do what God's calling us to do. So in order to create a state shift, right? And this is what a state shift is. You're sitting there, maybe you woke up, maybe just the day started off wrong. Or maybe it's your harsh inner self-critic. Anybody got one of those? A harsh inner self-critic that starts telling you all the negatives about yourself. You can shift that by going to your piece of evidence, your 50 stack. Because it's real hard to keep believing intensely about your deficits and what you lack when you got 50 reasons in front of you. You read that, you're going to resonate with that. You're going to have a reaction to it. And it's going to shift you into a place where you're not only feeling better, but now you can go out there and handle your MIT. You know what that is? It's the most important task. Go handle your next MIT. This is a tool to do that. Now, the key to this is that it has to be specific. It might be tempting to write on there, I'm a good helper. I'm a good listener. That's cool. And while that may be very true, think about that. If you read that about yourself, and you're like, oh, I'm gonna look at my list here. I'm a good listener. I'm a good helper. I'm kind. Are you going to emotionally jump out of that chair and be like, yes, I so am? No, your brain's going to be like, blah, blah, blah. So what? So you need the specifics, the actual evidence. So what does this sound like? Let me give you an example from one of my clients. She says, taught 4 years of junior achievement lessons at my kids' school. I willingly allowed my brother to live in our home, bill-free, to get back on his feet. I took the leap to launch a successful online hair accessory business after crafting for 2 years as a hobby. I am confident to rock a super short natural haircut. I edited my friend's PhD thesis materials. I have a tell it like it is persona. And I own my first home before age 25. Do you get a sense of how that feels? You're probably reading this, you're like, Dad, this girl's pretty awesome. Because she put the specifics. She didn't just say, I'm smart or I take initiative, but she wrote down the specifics. And they're not all about accomplishment. Some are, but some of it's just fun. Like it's about her hair or about her crafting or her personality. Okay. So that's what I want you to include. The more detail and the more you own this and really just decide what is true for you, the more powerful it will be. All right. Now that you guys know what a 50 stack of awesome is, who likes it? Who says, yes, I am on that. I'll take the challenge. I will create it. I will build it. And those of you who, some of you I've already built this with, but those who are in Debt-Free Millionaire, this is something you get my help with. I get to give you feedback on how you're building this and hold you accountable for it. Ooh, that sounds good. Awesome. Good. So I want you to do that for homework. 50 stack. Now, if you don't get to 50 overnight, that's totally fine. Set an incremental goal, like the first 15. Okay. All right. Now, how else can we boost confidence? Ooh, I'm going to teach you a very important tool here, and it's called the reframe. And there are 3 steps to this. And what's so awesome is you can apply this to any area of your life, personal, professional, relational. So 3 steps to the reframe. And it might help first. Let me give you context first, and then I'll walk you through how we change it. I'm just going to give you an everyday experience, something that I think a lot of people can relate to. So I had a client who was telling me that she was very triggered. She was upset that her husband, right? She loaded the dishwasher after dinner, and her husband unloaded it and reloaded it the right way. And so my client's not feeling too good about this, right? Okay, so that's context. Now, let's go through the steps here. First step of the reframe is to identify the meaning you're making about it. What meaning in this example did my client make? She made the meaning that she just basically wasn't competent. She couldn't even load a dishwasher the right way. She wasn't appreciated. She didn't get any thanks for her efforts. She just felt bad, like she was the one doing something wrong, like she was dumb. And I'll tell you, my client's a surgeon, right? So that clearly can't be the truth, but she's believing this in her mind and feeling all these negative emotions around it. So the second step of the reframe, what do? we ask this very important question. Is that the only absolute truth? So is it the only absolute truth that my client is incompetent, underappreciated, can't load a dishwasher? Of course, no. It's not the only absolute truth. So that's the spoiler, guys. The answer to that question is always no. Third step in the reframe process. This question you ask yourself, what else could be true? There can be multiple truths. There's so much that's available to you. So open your mind to that. What else could be true? In this case with my client, her husband is extremely analytical. So could it be true that his analytical brain sees a dishwasher like Tetris, and he kind of has these OCD components that are compelling him to organize it right, or he can't sleep well at night? Yeah, that's what it is. So was it even about my client? No, not at all. So first question, what is the meaning you're making? Number two, is that the only absolute truth? No. Number three, what else could be true? And you're choosing the truth that serves you, that frees you to move forward. And a lot of the time, it's just not even going to be about you. Okay, cool. So I want you to put in the chat, what is something that you want to work on reframing? It could be getting fired from a job. It could be losing money. It could be somebody saying something mean to you in judgment. It could be being left in a relationship. It could be anything. What is something that you want to work on reframing? What would you apply that to today to practice? Yeah, Corrine knows this. Yes, very most immediately, still raw. Yeah, getting fired from a job. Yeah, if you're feeling like, oh, gee, I'm not good enough. I failed in relationships. Maybe I failed in health. Ooh, that one can apply to, well, and pretty much all of us at some point in our lives, right? We failed some way in health. Yeah, closing a business, walking away from something. Absolutely. So that's something that I'd like you to practice for homework too, is what is something, anything at all, and what would you pick? Go with something you're not feeling too good about. You're still holding some negative emotion around, and work that reframe and see what new truth you arrive at. Okay, now let's bring this into truth that can apply to a lot of us here. I want to give you some examples of what that sounds like. And I put frames on things because it's a bit easier for the brain to accept. I like knowing, I choose to, I'm becoming, I'm excited that. You don't have to do that, but go with me here for a second in the demo here. All right, so here are some examples of truths that you might find a fit for you where you are right now. I like knowing that only God and I have the power to determine my worth. I like knowing that I'm learning how to feel a little more confident each day. I'm excited that I'm in the process of finding the true, insert your name. I'm excited that I'm in the process of finding the true, your name. I choose to believe that I can do the hard work to get there. I'm choosing to have more fun. I like knowing that I'm already enough. I choose to be free from expectations of the world because I decided to. I like knowing that there's more for me and that all things are possible. I choose to shift into confidence and my true voice. Okay. So if something resonated with you there, share it in the chat. What's one new belief that you want to say, yeah, I stand in this. This is my truth. I'm going to operate from this going forward. It can be super simple too. I like knowing that I am becoming the best version of myself. I choose to live in my new story. Anybody want to share a belief that resonates with you? Yes, I am enough. I choose that I'm enough. I feel good about becoming. Only God and I determine what I can and can't do, who I am. I choose to shift into confidence. All things are possible. Yes. And you know how that's the truth? Because you chose it. And your brain believes what it is repeatedly exposed to. So this is why you got to say it every day, first thing in the morning. You got to put it all over your house. You got to put it on index cards, post-it notes, dry erase markers on your mirror. Expose your brain to your new truth. All right. A little bit more on beliefs here so we can get you to landing your ideal path. I want to talk here about limiting beliefs. And we all know we got some of those. Those are the ones that keep us in the box and keep us playing small. I want to give you some examples of some limiting beliefs that I hear often when people are wanting to move ahead into a new career or a new business, but something inside of them is holding them back. So listen to these. If any of them resonate, cool, make a note, share in the chat. You might identify a different limiting belief that you hold. Okay, here are some examples. I'm too old. I won't get paid as much. The economy is just so bad right now. Well, I have to get a new degree or certification if I want to do that. The market is too saturated. What if no one buys? I don't know how to start a business. I don't have enough time. Okay, so those are some of the most common limiting beliefs that I see standing in the way of where you are now and where you want to be, where you're capable of being. But this is like that giant hurdle you're trying to scale. I'm just going to make another mistake. It's just going to fail like the other things I've tried. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Lots of story in there. Okay. So here's a question for you. Why not just power through it? Why not just say, la, 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 brain, stories, whatever might be in there. Why don't I'll just take action. I'll just buy this. I'll just submit 100 resumes here. I'll just do it. Well, you can't sustain successful action from self-doubt, fear, and resistance. No more than you're going to climb Mount Everest with 300 pounds on your back. Not going to happen. Okay. So that's why I want you to see this, is that it needs your attention. These are weeds in your garden. You have to weed out in order to grow your fruits and vegetables. And in the end, you only take action from your beliefs. If your beliefs are negative, if they are of doubt, of fear, then you're not going to get to the other side, right? I'll give you a financial analogy is how many people do you know who say, I can't afford it? Having a lot of money, I just can't get it. Just comes in like it's like water off a duck's back. It just comes in and goes right out. It's too hard to earn a lot of money. The economy's keeping me down. Do you know any people who say that all the time and have lots of money? I don't, right? You're only going to get what comes from your beliefs. And what's wonderful about this is you are the one with the power to choose those beliefs. You get back in the driver's seat today, you get to choose those beliefs. Okay, and now you've got the reframe to create beliefs that allow you to move forward with confident, consistent effort. So what could those sound like? I like knowing that it's easier to make money than I think. Ooh, how many people really need to believe that? I like knowing that it's easier to make money than I think it is. Yes, we all need to believe that. Anything is possible. I'm excited to learn how to sell my value. Where there's a will, there's a way, and I'm ready. I like knowing I don't have to do this alone. I've got the Lord with me. I can work with an expert who can help me 10x my time, resources, and results. Yes, you can. That's right. So for homework, I want you to write down at least one new powerful belief that you need right now that's going to help get you out of the limiting beliefs, out of the story of I can't, I have, it won't work, too risky, too scary, and move you into, wow, I can get to a place of possibility. I can open up my mind to vision. I can take small steps to move forward. I can learn. There are options. I want you to write one powerful belief, at least for homework. Okay. And now, before we conclude our content for today, I want to give you some examples. So I'll give you one from business and then one from career. So my client Erin was a well-paid retail professional. She did buying and selling, that kind of stuff. And like a lot of corporate jobs, it just runs you over. And she had two small kids at the time and was like, I can't even function. I can't even do this anymore. So when we were looking at what else would be a fit for her, what is her most fulfilling path forward, we had to get her to a place where she could dream. And that meant pulling out all the weeds of, I've never done this before. I don't know if it'll make enough money for my family. What if it doesn't work? What if it takes too long? What if nobody wants what I'm offering? We had to weed all of those out. And we did. What we ended up doing was we leveraged her career experience, the things that she was good at that she did really enjoy. We took that passion, we acknowledged the practical pieces. She needed flexible hours and wanted to work from home. And we really dialed in on getting her out of that place of fear, of putting herself out there. And so Erin, who loves style and loves helping people, she started her company More Than Style. And she has done very well. It is not an overnight for sure. And we had to work on the pieces of it, the mindset and the practical along the way. But she has a successful styling company now. She goes in there for women and helps them build capsule wardrobes for work or for a season. She loves it and she's so good at it and her clients love her. Okay, so that's one example of what is possible. Second example is Leah. Leah was hired as a VP in a company to rebuild. Their company was a startup. It kind of fell apart. So she was hired in at the VP level for leadership to rebuild this. And she did. She helped them become very successful again. And then they sold it. So this new leadership came in, and for whatever reason, I don't know, maybe they were intimidated by her. I don't know what it was, but they wanted her out. And so they started feeding her these lines about how she wasn't really as good as what she thought she was, that her contribution didn't really matter. And she started absorbing this, thinking that, gosh, if I go anywhere else, I won't be as successful. This was the peak for me. I won't ever make as much money. That's what she was living in. But we took her through the process of, what do you want? How do we sell that? Do you actually know your value? Do you believe in it? What's your best fit target? And we helped her go after that. And so she ended up going to this software company. And after they had hired her, they told her, this position has been open for 3 years. And we were waiting for the right person, and it's you. And they gave her a 30% salary increase. So boom, blow that out of the water. So does that help, those examples where we think, I'm afraid it won't work, I'm believing in my limits, what people tell me how it can't work, and it's just possible, more than you think is possible. So that's what I wanted to take you through today, is confidence and beliefs. And I wanted to give you some tools with a reframe, the 50 stack of awesome, so that you can take concrete action today to dial up your confidence and play with that in your mind. Every morning you have the ability to visualize that in your head, and you just turn that dial up, turn up your dial to 9 and say, okay, let's go get this. All right. So I'm going to turn it back over to Jeremy.
Awesome, Stacy. So, okay, so we have an exciting guest. Zena is here. Where are you at, girl?
I am here.
There she is. Doesn't she look amazing today, everyone? She's all prepared. She's ready. She's looking
It was
good.
a lot of work. It was a lot of work.
I love it. I love it. Well, you look natural. All right. So, Zena, we wanted to highlight her because I know a lot of you are going to relate with her testimony and her share of where she was, but also get a lot of hope. But also get a lot of hope for what's possible for you. And so, Zena, let's just start with, we'll let the cat out of the bag. Talk about, so I know you started with us in July. So that was a little less, it was less than a year ago, right? Whatever that is, 10 months or so. But I know paying off your debt was one of your biggest financial goals. And I know now we're like talking about how do we build wealth and how do we take that to the next level. But yeah, like how much debt have you guys been able to pay off in the last like 10 months or so?
So we were a little over $90,000 in debt. And so we had about 14 credit cards, and what I tell people, we were robbing Peter to pay Paul, and then I had to take a loan out from Judas. Is essentially our situation. And so we've paid off the 90,000. We still have maybe about 10 because in the paying off my car died, so I had to get a new car or another car. But so that's what we went through is we had the debt, we had kids in college, my husband has medical issues, it was just a lot. And
Yeah.
spinning plates and floating cards and debt balances, and we just reached a point where we had to make some decisions.
Yeah. How many of you guys can relate to that? I mean, just, Zena, talk about what was life like if you could try to paint the picture of what it was like before we met, just like you said, shuffling between 14 different cards, right? I feel like you need like I don't know, like you need all these different alarms or different pop-ups or things just to try to keep it in order. Like, it had to be pretty
So,
stressful.
well, one card would max out, so it was sort of like, okay, we're not going to use that card, so we'll use another card, and that allowed me to keep paying on the card that had maxed out. So then by the time the second card maxed out, the first card was down enough, and the third card was down enough that we could use them until the third card maxed out, and then we went to the fourth card. And so then you were just um trying to do like picking a card that you were going to do more than the minimum on. So that would come down while you didn't use it, and you maxed out the fifth card, and then you just that's what it was. It was just that. It was my children are 18, 20, and 22, so it was borrowing money for my kids at certain points too. Um
And what was that
and
like? What was that like for you, Zena? Because I know how responsible you are and how giving you are and how much of a amazing provider you want to be. So just what was the hardest part about that for you? Because I can't imagine that that was easy.
It was just it's embarrassing. It is asking my children to trust me, like, guys, I promised I will pay you back. So it's my job. And so I had a year where I didn't work. And like I said, my husband went from COVID to cancer to hip surgery to
Mm,
spinal surgery. And so it just
mm,
it was I looked at my money tree, it had no leaves, it had no roots, nothing was happening.
wow.
And once I started working, I was working at a job where I was making $35,000 less than my previous job, but it was a much better space for me.
Mm. So what was it like then for you? Just like when you mentioned obviously a lot of the stress, and we'll talk about the happy stuff too in a second, but I want to know like how was it affecting maybe even just like your marriage or just your health to just have to be juggling that and managing the stress of that. I mean, I can't imagine what that kind of impact would have had on
It's
you.
exasperating. My youngest daughter, even though our kids are only 4 years apart, she was like, I've had a much harder life because things had to be decided months out if you needed new shoes or a coat or something. Where when I had the previous job, it was like, sure, like what do you want? We'll manage it and we'll go get it. And so it was aggravating. It was a lot of exasperation over needless purchases that should have been nothing kind of thing.
Mm.
But it always became um dollar stores and things like I'm like, I don't like just stop, like stop buying stuff.
Yeah. So then fast forward a little bit. So then obviously somehow in the crazy ethers of the web, the internet, you somehow find us and then get started. So I know this is part of the fun of the story too, because now your husband is spoiler alert, he's actually like on calls now and he's super supportive. But what but like you first started and you like said yes, and like was he like your biggest cheerleader and like all about it, or what was it like?
Oh, I think I felt like people would make me feel embarrassed if I said this is what I did to get out of debt. And so I just kind of started the journey on my own.
Hmm.
Uh, and I heard you mention AI. I was excited. They're real people. because that's always my concern when you join this in terms of solutions and stuff. And Stone was absolutely wonderful and patient. I can be very sarcastic, and he handled my tone about things. And we even got to a point where I would say, "This is my problem," and then I would pause and be like, "This is what you're going to tell me to do, isn't it?" And he would be like, "Oh, it is." So just kind of
Yeah.
embracing that mindset of what change looks like.
Hmm. So then what was your experience like? Like, so obviously you got a lot of help, you got a lot of breakthroughs, but what do you feel like, what do you feel made some of the biggest difference, right? Whether that was like certain support or breakthroughs that you had, like what were some of those things that made the biggest difference for you in getting where you are today?
So again, the one-on-ones, him being very patient, remembering things from one-on-one session to the next made me feel valued
Mm,
and that I counted. Going through the disc test, I'm always in this like weird group. Someone between you and Stone said like I had the lowest eye you've ever seen. So when it comes to money, I'm like, I only need it because you say I have to have it to buy stuff. So if I could get a vacation to Disney and not have to pay, then I would be good too. But I need money. And so helping me to stop undervaluing myself,
mhm.
and uh people that we have help us with something like the yard or whatever. And then the budget. While that again was very transparent to
Mhm.
have you look at my budget, and then
Was that just getting that clarity? I'm so proud of you because I know you really had to step outside of your comfort zone and ask for some things and get uncomfortable and ask some people to pay up that weren't paying up and do some stuff like that. What was, I know for you, you mentioned earlier when we were talking about just getting back your worth and getting back your confidence and things. Like what would you say that was one of the biggest takeaways for you as well, or what was that for you?
it was getting over that fear. So to talk to someone who's been renting for from you for, I think it'd been 10 years, and she had raised her rent herself. I didn't like, she just every now and then decided, oh, I'll just pay you another $100 kind of. And I was just rolling with that. And to have to, she was not happy. And to have to endure not happy was really hard. A lot of overcoming fear, or processing through fear, because it was still there.
Yeah. And I know so many people can relate to that. How many of you guys struggle with fear of man, people pleasing, right? It's super common. And that's one of the main things that holds people back from hitting their financial goals. So how amazing does it feel just to feel like you've broken that whether you call it an addiction, call it a fear, call it a what do you want to call it? But how does it feel to be so much freer and not have that just paralyzing you anymore?
It's I know it's exciting. The burden is off, and sat around as a family, and my daughter would cut up a card. Like I'm like, Target's paid off. She would cut the card, and then it would be Old Navy's paid off. We kept that card. But another card would be paid off. And she was like, I want to cut them up. And so it was good just to bring my community, the whole family together. Like we did this for a purpose, and
Mhm.
now we're gonna do, take care of what we're supposed to.
Mhm. I love that. And I know you also like with your work as well, like you saw like an increase there where I know you mentioned like just, hey, like I'm actually asking for it and I'm making myself known and I'm standing up for what I'm actually worth and I'm not settling. Tell me about that too.
So what happened for me there was just going out. So I'm now part-time. I have my day job, but I'm also a part-time faculty member at my university. So having the confidence that I can be an instructor, so I'm teaching graduate classes, and just trusting myself that I'm good enough to grade papers, tell people that are superstars in their district that you did a homework assignment incorrectly and you got to redo it is a big thing for me to get over. But I was like, I'm not taking your work until you get it right. So that was a step out for me of my comfort zone as well.
I love it. Awesome. Wow. How many of you guys are inspired just listening to this? I know I feel like I got goosebumps. This is so good. So yeah, like what are you excited about next? Right? What's your next big goal? What are you looking forward to? Now that you've got this new identity, you've got this new support, this new community. I mean, anything's possible from this place. So what are you pumped about next?
Well, one, retirement is
Mm,
actually like I don't have like it can be a choice where before it was you're gonna have to keep working. Um,
mm,
the other thing is sitting down with my three kids. So now we have three kids in college. Um, and working with them to make sure they don't land in this place.
mm.
So the financialness of it. Um, but then there's also this reflecting, having us realize
Yeah.
we can take control. So that's like my next big thing is sharing these skills with my children, although they're adult children.
Mm.
Um,
And
and
how priceless is that? I mean, think about it, right? They're gonna get to learn at such a younger age what
yeah,
no one was able to teach you. And now you get to be that example and give them a fresh start. What is that like for you just to know you're gonna get to leave that kind of a legacy? You're gonna give them practical tools, not just don't do what I did, right?
Mhm. And
Yeah.
that's what it is that it's sort of I also have we have a 29-year-old, and as I listen to her, she's sort of like, "But my friends say debt will always be with you." And I'm going, "No, I think you get to make some choices about that."
Mhm.
And so really having the goal like small steps, and 20 years from now we'll be here quicker than you know it. And what peace it will be to be able to sit down and be like, I can choose things. I
Mm.
don't I don't wanna be s like, I have a friend who's he's like, I didn't handle myself correctly. I don't ever think that I will be able to retire." And I'm just going, there's so much other like, just so many other things I wanna do.
So I just love it. What's the final thing, Zena? Just first of all, again, thank you so much for sharing. It's been amazing. What's one final little bit of encouragement again to people, someone who's maybe where you were before we got started, just still feeling that fear, feeling that overwhelm, feeling that is there hope? Can I really turn this around what would you say?
One, I don't think the fear goes away, but it's the wisdom in terms of what is the best decision, and that's what got me moving.
Mm,
And then 2, even as I look on the call, there were people that I've seen that were in the same kind of cycle that I was on, and just being encouraged by the people that are in the Facebook community, as support. Because there were times when I would be like, "I've got a question," and people were like, "You got this. You can keep moving forward and remember what your goal is."
I love that. Zena, you're such an inspiration. I know I was inspired hearing your story again. And how many of you guys are ready to see her book come out, or see her on stage? I know I'm ready for that. I love that. Zena, thank you so much. Amazing, amazing job. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Very inspiring.